time waits for nobody. The sun doesn't stop shining for anybody. Therefore, if you're thinking that you have a lot of time in the future to do it, you don't know that. So just use the time that you have right now. If you want to be brave in the future, you have to start doing scary things today. If you want to develop courage in the future, you have to start walking into things that are scary and unknown today. If you want to be X, Y, and Z in the future, you've got to start today. You've got to start today because that's the only way you can invest in that thing right now so that it can grow and pay off to you in the future. Welcome back to Be Unafraid podcast. If you feel like you're doing everything right in your life, but you still feel like losing, then this episode is for you. It's very easy to feel like you're behind and that everyone else that you see has it figured out and that you are actually behind. But what if that was not true? What if you're just living a life that you don't even want and chasing expectations and timelines that aren't yours? In this episode, let's talk about what it really takes to stop living your life on autopilot before you waste another year living a story that doesn't fit you. Let's get into the episode. The first point is that you are not behind. You're just following a timeline that wasn't really meant for you. Most likely what's happening is you're chasing a career, goals, lifestyles that you didn't even choose. Everyone else's expectations have shaped how you live your life. You look at society, you look at social media, you look at what other people are doing, you look at your friends, your family and everything, and you're basing your life and creating the life that you're living now based off of those expectations, based off of those things that you see either other people doing or you see other people telling you to do. There's a path that we all choose in life, and there's many different paths that we take, but certain paths keep us stuck. Certain paths make us feel like we're not actually moving all that much in life and that we're too late in certain aspects because those paths that we take are paths that we didn't necessarily choose. Somebody else carved out that path for you, or something else carved out that path for you. And you're just following along. You're just following along instead of taking an active role in choosing which path you want to take. You are on a path that you don't even want. And you know that inside of yourself. You know that inside of yourself. But on the outside, it may not even seem like that. To other people, it might even seem like you have it all figured out and that you're making progress or that your life looks good. But inside of yourself, you know that you're not on the right path and you're starting to feel or have already been feeling that maybe it's too late for you to turn around and choose another path. Maybe it's too late for you to go a different way because you're so committed to this path already that the thought of going back and picking another path feels scary. It feels heavy. And it feels like it's something that you just can't do anymore. That is actually not true in most cases. You do have the ability to change lanes. It can be easier in some aspects. It can be really, really hard in some aspects. But ultimately, it's how much you're willing to commit to changing that path is what it comes down to. But what I want you to understand with this point right here is that there is more than one path for you. And you may not see it now, but you need to actually start to look and open your mindset, open your view, open your perspective, and start to have a more overview perspective of your life. Look at your life from a very high level and realize that the road you're taking now is not the only one. There is multiple paths to getting to the thing that you want to get to or accomplishing your goals or just living a life that is more fulfilling with meaningful and purpose. Subscribe to this episode if you're done living your life on autopilot and want to take back that control of your life. I post every week on this episode to share with you things that will help you take the pen and write the story to your own life. So subscribe to the channel. Let's get back into the episode. Not only are you actually living on someone else's timeline and someone else's path, the other thing is that you don't just compare yourself to other people. You're comparing yourself to who you thought you would be by now. So you had an idea of who you would be at 20 years old, at 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old. And let's say now that you're 20, now that you're 30, now that you're 40, you're now looking at your life and looking at that picture, that vision you had painted of yourself at that age. And you probably are realizing that there's some things that you haven't accomplished yet, or maybe the majority of the things that you wished to have accomplished by that age, you haven't even accomplished or gotten to, or you're not that person yet. And you hold yourself to that. You hold yourself to that, and that can cause a lot of problems in your life because every day you're not there. You're not at that person who you perceived should have been you at that age. You feel like a failure. You feel like you failed. I have not accomplished all of these things that I thought the 20-year-old me should have accomplished. Therefore, I failed. I haven't accomplished all of these things that a 30-year-old me, 40-year-old me, 50-year-old me should have accomplished by now. Therefore, I have failed. And it's too late. I've ran out of time. It's too late. I can't change because I've wasted a lot of time. These are some of the thoughts that could be going on in your head and how you could be looking at these things. And what you need to understand is that you're not failing. You're actually evolving in life. And very rarely is life actually linear, going up all the time. Oftentimes, life has ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. And it's kind of like a slow growth process. And sometimes it dips right back down and then it kind of comes back up. And that's how things typically tend to work in reality. So you set goals. You set goals, you set a vision, which is good. And you need that because those are the things that are going to keep us fired up and motivated and pumped to wake up every single day and accomplish. But also the ability that you need to develop is the ability now to pivot, the ability to get to that specific age, 20, 30, 40, look at your life, look at the things you've done, and then think to yourself, here's what I had planned on doing. I accomplished X, celebrate those. I didn't accomplish Y. Do a deep dive as to why you didn't accomplish those. And then now think about what do I need to do next to get to accomplishing these things? What is the next step? You don't need to just stop at, I haven't accomplished this at this age, therefore I failed and I've ran out of time. That is a great way to feel defeated. That is a great way to deflate that balloon. And that is a great way to take that wind off the sails of your life. And you're going to stay stagnant. You're just going to float. You're just going to wallow and you're going to stay in that failure. You need the ability to understand that timeline you set for yourself is great to get you moving and to get stuff done, but realize that you are a human being and you progress. The flip side to that is even if you hit your goals, there is another version of you that will hit all of your goals at these age markers, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever age it is. There's a version of you that will hit all of your goals. You will get everything you want and it still doesn't feel enough. So you get all the promotions that you want to get by a certain age. You get all the degrees you want to get by a certain age. Maybe you get all the money you want to get by a certain age. You lose that weight. You're in that perfect shape. But deep down, you feel empty because none of it matters if you're chasing achievements that don't align with what you actually want and who you are. Living someone else's path or living a path that you think other people want you to live. When you get accomplishments in that way, they don't feel as good. They don't feel as good in the long term. In the short term, like immediately when you get those accomplishments, it feels great. But then you'll realize that all of a sudden you're back to square one again. You're just looking for that next thing because there's no fulfillment in that. There's no fulfillment in getting things when those aren't things that you really want. So as you're accomplishing these things, getting more and more things done, and maybe not even accomplishing anything, feeling stagnant, you start to tell yourself that you're running out of time. You're running out of time, and that thought process and that fear of running out of time keeps you frozen now. You would think that initially when you think I'm running out of time, then you're going to feel fired up, motivated to really get it done because you have a limited amount of time. But what's interesting about the human mind and the human brain is that when you feel like you're out of time in life, things feel very big. Everything that you look at about your life, the people around you, everything feels big, like it's a massive undertaking. And that becomes very scary. All your goals feel big because now in your mind, you're taking the time that you have and bringing it down to such a small amount of time for whatever reason, which is not true, by the way. And all of a sudden, you're frozen. You're frozen. You can't make decisions. You can't move forward on goals. You can't execute on everything. And you're just walking through life every single day with that feeling of, I wasted my time. You lose that urgency. You lose that urgency. And urgency is key here because one of the best things that I have heard about procrastination, because I struggled with procrastination for the longest time ever, and I still do have tendencies to procrastinate now. But one of the best cures that I heard was the cure to procrastination is urgency. Urgency is that mindset and that way of thinking of do it now. This thing is urgent. When something is urgent, it means that it needs to be done immediately or there's consequences to not doing that thing. So when you live your life with urgency, you do things. You do things because you know that if I don't do this thing, I am wasting something. And oftentimes that's time. So when you start to tell yourself that it's too late, that I'm too old, or I'm not in my prime anymore, or I'm not young anymore, or I just don't have it anymore, all these things, which can be valid, by the way, which can be very valid excuses, but they're not reasons not to do something. You lose that urgency. You lose that urgency. And because you lose that urgency, you procrastinate. You procrastinate for months, for years, for decades. And then you'll get to the point where it truly might be too late for you to do some of the things that you want to do because you've procrastinated it. But you have to realize that there's always something you can do. There's always something you can do, some way you can better yourself. And it just might look different depending on where you are and what age you are. So it's never too late to grow in something. Eliud Kipchoge, a Olympic gold medalist in the marathon event, has one of my favorite quotes. And he talks about how he navigates his life and how he navigates self-discipline, to be specific. And we're going to apply this to urgency. So he talks about how he believes in the philosophy of the branch in life. When he's going through life, he envisions himself grabbing onto branches in life. He grabs onto one branch, he stays on that branch, he accomplishes something, and then immediately he's thinking about the next branch. So he's moving in life, going from branch to branch to branch. And he talks about the principle of discipline, being disciplined to stick to those branches of life and to understand that having urgency and the ability to move knowing that there's consequences coming is how he's accomplished a lot of the things in his life. He knows that discipline for him is an urgent thing because if he doesn't have discipline as a marathon runner, then he's just not going to be a gold medalist. He's not going to be a very good runner at all because marathon runners are some of the most disciplined people in life because they have to run so much for so long and endure so much pain and put in so much training that discipline is just a thing they have to have. And developing the urgency to always be disciplined and the urgency to realize that he has what it takes. And to build on that, Eliud talks about preparation and how preparation is key. And he talks about that feeling of feeling like you're out of time, there's not much time left, or you're too late to do something. His amazing quote is, the best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago. The next best time to plant a tree of discipline, or a tree of urgency in this case, is today. You could have done it 25 years ago. You could have done it 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but you didn't. The next best time to do it is today. If you don't do it today, 25 years from now, you're going to be thinking, I should have done it 25 years ago. So Why stay stuck in the same place, in the same type of churn without making a decision when you're just going to regret it later on down the road? Plant the tree of urgency today. This is the best time. This is the time that you have, and use that time before you lose it, because we never can save time ever. We can only lose it, but how we use it makes the best of it. Another thing that could be going through your mind is that you're waiting on the future version of yourself to save you. You think in the concept of some days. Someday I'm going to feel brave. Someday I'm going to feel confident. I'm going to have courage. Someday I'm going to have clarity in my life, and everything in my life is going to be clear, and the path I need to take is going to be 100% clear, and that's when I'll do it. If that is your mentality, if that is the way that you think, you're never going to get anything done. You're never going to do anything at all, because someday never comes. There is no such thing as someday. There's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Those are the days that you have. You don't have someday. You need to get out of that frame of thinking of someday and realize the time that you have is now. The future version of yourself is only going to be able to do something because you've done something today. You set the foundations now. You plant those trees and those seeds right now so that they can grow 5, 10, 15, 25 years from now. That future version is not going to come back and save you. You need to start doing now instead of thinking that you will be ready someday, because someday will not come. It's just not going to happen. And that is the truth. And I hate to tell you that, but I don't really hate to tell you that, because you need to hear that. There's no such thing as someday. There's no such thing as I'm going to do it when I feel ready later. You're most likely not going to feel ready. Even when you think that you're ready, there's always going to be hesitancy in anything that you want to do. And the quote from Rocky, there is no tomorrow. In our minds, we kind of know that there's tomorrow, but in reality, is there really tomorrow? There could be tomorrow. That's kind of really the truth, is there could be tomorrow. Who knows what will happen today, right? And just developing that mindset, right? It's not for you to live a life of anxiety or to live a life of fear that all of a sudden you're not going to be alive tomorrow, something's going to happen. No, it's to create that urgency that the reality is that you don't get time. You don't save time. Time waits for nobody. The sun doesn't stop shining for anybody. Therefore, if you're thinking that you have a lot of time in the future to do it, you don't know that. So just use the time that you have right now. If you want to be brave in the future, you have to start doing scary things today. If you want to develop courage in the future, you have to start walking into things that are scary and unknown today. If you want to be X, Y, and Z in the future, you've got to start today. You've got to start today, because that's the only way you can invest in that thing right now so that it can grow and pay off to you in the future. An important thing to understand is that you're not really lost, right? The core essence of you, that excited kid, that excited person, that person that has curiosity and drive to be something, is deep inside. It's there. It's there. It might be buried on top of a whole bunch of other stuff, but you're still there. You're still inside of yourself, and you're just buried on top of the piles of should and someday and these quiet expectations that you have of yourself, or expectations that people have of you, but you're still in there. You need to now create that space. You need to now create that space to hear yourself again. And an analogy that I like to use is thinking of your mind, your core, your essence, right? Your life is like a garage. And if you walk into a garage that you just dump a whole bunch of stuff in, right? You're just dumping stuff in there. Life is happening. You're just packing it. You walk in and there's barely any room for you to do anything. You kind of have to walk around things, and you can't fit a car in there. You can't fit 2 cars in there. It might even be a 2-car garage, and you can't fit anything in there because it's packed with boxes. It's packed with old things, with clothes, all kinds of stuff is packed in your garage. And that's your mind. Now, think about when you take some time to go into that garage of your life, your mental garage, and you say, I am going to organize this thing and I'm going to put everything in a specific place. I'm going to pack things real nice. I'm going to get these containers, these cardboards, and I'm going to layer everything and make sure everything is packed nice. And you do that. You clear the space, you organize the space, you have good organization, and then all of a sudden, all that stuff that's in that garage has its own place that it's packed in. You've thrown some stuff away that don't need to be in there. And then now you can drive your two cars into that two-car garage. All of a sudden, you have space for the cars and space for the stuff. So that's kind of how it is you've got all that stuff there that's layered on top, and you just need to make space and let yourself come back out and realize that it's never too late, and you can always write your own story. You can always write your own story and live your life as if you're the hero of your own story is one of my favorite quotes that I've heard before, because heroes go on a journey. They have a problem, they want something, they meet a guide that helps them get something, and ultimately they come out of it the person that they envisioned. And that is your life. That is who you are. Our life is a story, and you are the hero of your own story. And you have to ask yourself this: if I was writing my story today, if I was writing my story right now, what would I do next? That is a question that you need to answer. And that question will help you start to move forward and to start to understand that you have time. You just need to get out of your own way. If you are done feeling behind, but you're still stuck in your own head, trying to get out of your own way, then this next episode right here is for you. It'll show you how overthinking is quietly ruining your life without you even noticing it. So check it out. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.